Hello everybody, this is Zaxter99. Now in this video, I'm going to be talking specifically about The Walking Dead, the TV show, Season 6, Episode number 3, titled Thank You. And we're going to be discussing the death of Glenn. So if you haven't seen this episode yet, if you're a Walking Dead fan, I would encourage you to stop this video. Don't spoil it for yourself. There's I'm sure you've already read and heard that Glenn dies, especially if you've clicked on this, whatever. But go watch the video before you actually find out what happened. But if you want to go ahead and continue watching or spoil it for yourself, then I've given you fair warning. So, when I watched the episode tonight, I was thinking that, I've been thinking for a while towards the end of season 5 that one of the main people in The Walking Dead was going to see their demise soon. And I figured it would be more than likely Daryl, or Glenn, number 2, or number 3, I figured Michonne. I just figured one of those three we were going to see the death. Kind of like with Herschel and all these characters we've grown attached to, Lori and Herschel and Dale and Andrea and Beth. They build up these characters, they get us close to them, and then they kill them off. And, it's an apocalypse, it's a dangerous world, and it's kind of how they, keep us hanging on and keep us surprised, or the element of shock. So I've been thinking for a while that we were going to lose Daryl, Glenn, or maybe Michonne. And when it didn't happen at the end of season 5, I thought for sure within the first 3 or 4 episodes of this season we would lose somebody major. And so when I watched Thank You, episode number 3, and I saw Glenn praying in that store before he went out to, burn down the barn to draw the zombies there, I'm like, oh, this is where we're going to lose Glenn. And then especially when that jackass Nicholas said he was going with him, I'm like, oh, hell no. Because I remember the end of season 5, when Glenn was out in the forest and almost got killed by him, and then Glenn had the opportunity to kill him. I really thought Glenn should have, not had such a big heart and should have actually done away with Nicholas, because when he didn't and he let Nicholas live, I was thinking, man, this is going to come back and this is going to, haunt either Glenn or Nicholas is going to get somebody else killed. But when Nicholas said he was going with him, I'm like, Nicholas is going to do something to get Glenn killed. So I was really nervous, and then when they got, that dead end in the alley with a horde of zombies, I was like, oh no, both of them are going to die here. And then I had a little glimmer of hope when they climbed on top of the dumpster, and I thought maybe they could get over that fence or whatever, but I guess the fence was too high. And then we saw, Nicholas kind of freaking out, and then he basically said to Glenn, thank you. So I want to talk about that as well. They called the show Thank You. And I want to go ahead and pull up some screenshots here. I can't show the video for copyright reasons, but hopefully I'll get away with showing some of this video here. And actually, I don't want to show that. What I want to do is pull it up in here. And hopefully that's big enough where everybody can see it and everything. But I want to be able to draw on the pictures here in just a moment. And so here we have Nicholas. He pulls out the gun. He says to Glenn, thank you. And I actually thought Glenn was dead, because when it happened, when, they fell off the dumpster and I saw Glenn laying there and I saw intestines being pulled out and I saw the grimaces on his face, I just assumed that Glenn was dead, and my eyes were full of tears, and I was screaming at the TV, and I was screaming at the jackass Nicholas, and I was in an emotional, wreck. Really wasn't being that observant. And then I actually just did a live stream on my channel for people to talk about it. And I had people saying that, I had somebody saying that Glenn isn't really dead. And I'm like, oh, come on. Yeah, he's dead. I mean, that would be kind of cheesy for him not to be dead. And I figured that everybody was saying he wasn't dead, was just wishful thinking. And because I remember back when Lori died, everybody was saying, oh, Lori, they're going to find Lori alive. She's going to live through that and all this. And of course, Lori did not live. But so anyway, I went ahead and watched the show again, and I took some screenshots here of what I saw. And now I'm actually believing that Glenn probably isn't dead. At least not right now. He may die, but I doubt it now. I think they just pulled a huge shocker on us. I think they're going to be laughing, the producers and the directors for this show. Robert Kirkman and all them probably going to be laughing their ass off at how well they tricked most viewers tonight. But whoever caught this, or the people that did catch this, you guys are very observant, for one thing. But anyway, I want to go ahead and show you here. Nicholas, first of all, says thank you to Glenn, and people were saying, well, what did he say? Why did he say thank you? And in the live stream chat that I did, I was kind of saying, well, I'm sure he's telling Glenn thank you for keeping him alive, because he knows damn well that Glenn could have killed him at the end of season 3 when Glenn escaped him and then got on top of him and had him there out in the forest, and he was right on top of him. I mean, he could have shot him, he could have choked him to death, he could have killed Nicholas, and he let him live. And then there's a lot of times where Glenn, said, hey, that you're not the same guy anymore, you're different. And he tried to help Nicholas out. He tried to help Nicholas become a classy guy and a survivor and not a piece of crap, basically. So I think Nicholas realized that, and before he shot himself, he was like, you know what, thank you for trying to save me. Thank you for seeing the good in me. And that's kind of how I see it. But anyway, I know you guys are all wanting to talk about the death of Glenn. Is Glenn dead? Why or why not? So he shoots himself in the head. His blood sprays all over Glenn's face. And in the next picture here, we see that Glenn actually catches Nicholas. Now, one thing I want you guys to notice, and you guys can go back, if you have this recorded in your DVR, go back and watch it a couple of times and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. But take notice of the color of Glenn's shirt and the gray color of Nicholas's shirt. So notice the two different colors for one thing. But Glenn here catches Nicholas. Nicholas has shot his brains out. Nicholas has just fallen. He's dead. I mean, Glenn's still alive here. So now we're going to go ahead and pull the next picture up here that I captured a screenshot. You can see the horde of zombies. There's a million zombies down here. They're all reaching up. You can see a hand right here reaching out towards Glenn. Sure looks like Glenn is in big time trouble. Again, Nicholas is already dead. He just shot his brains out. And but you can see that Glenn here is fallen first. He has Nicholas on top of him. And the next scene we see, oops, I want to drag this up like this. The next scene we see only Glenn's face. They don't show his whole body. And the reason they don't do that is for a reason. We only see Glenn's bloody face. Obviously he's, grimacing here, but he just had a massive shock to his system with Nicholas blowing his brains out all over him, and he fell onto the pavement. I mean, that would probably hurt, and then he had Nicholas falling on top of him. So he fell on the pavement on his back, and then he had Nicholas falling on top of him, a dead body, which would add to the impact. So of course it's going to hurt. But we assume at this point that the zombies are already ripping him apart. It's just not showing it. So the next picture this is the most important picture right here. Notice how the camera is only zoomed in on his face. He already has blood all over him from the Nicholas shooting himself in the head. But you see hands here, zombie hands tearing at flesh. And from this camera angle, we assume that they're tearing into Glenn. But here's what I want to go ahead and do here, guys. I want to go ahead and get me a highlighter here, or a paintbrush. Notice this right here. Notice this is the body right here. You can see this. This is the zombie's hand. And the body, we can see the same color all the way here through the fingers. Here it's all the same color. So unless his head is really twisted around, it looks like the body of Nicholas, which is also the same color of shirt, if you notice the shirt color, laying over him. Not only that, especially if you watch the video in real time, you can see that this looks too close to the camera to actually be Glenn. It certainly looks like Glenn's shoulders and chest would be underneath this here, which is closer to the camera. So this is a very important picture. Plus, like I said, it goes all the way over here, which makes really no sense to be Glenn's body. It looks like it's more Nicholas laying across laying across his chest is what would make sense when you actually look at it closely. Next picture here. Another reason why this can't possibly be Glenn, if it's going to make sense when you look at it. The zombies start pulling intestines out. Well, they're pulling them out of Nicholas's tummy here, which is laying on top of Glenn. If this was Glenn, they would not be pulling intestines out of Glenn's chest. You see here, this would be right where this would be right up at the very top of Glenn's chest. That isn't where your intestines lie, and these are definitely intestines. This has to be Nicholas. This has to be Nicholas with his body, his belly basically right here. Here's his belly button or whatever, and maybe his legs are down over here or whatever. There's one leg, there's the other leg. But this is his belly, this is his belly button, and maybe his arms are right here. And that would make sense for where they're tearing the intestines out of, right here in his abdomen. So that's why, I'm thinking now this definitely has to be Nicholas that they're tearing apart. And not only that, Glenn, while he's in a lot of pain and shock and everything else, that's the reason for his grimace on his face, but Glenn would be dead by now. If they're pulling intestines that far out, he'd be dead, not grimacing and whining and crying, more than likely. So the only other screenshot we have, guys, is right here. After they show that, they never give you a full shot of Glenn's full body, and they do that for a reason, because they're trying to trick us. They are trying, and they did a fantastic job, because they definitely had me fooled. They used the shock factor where people weren't being observant, or most people weren't being observant, and noticing that, what I just showed you. So the only other picture we have is the camera zooming out with all these zombies here, and they show, what looks to be Glenn's body. I did try to go ahead and zoom that up, and if we zoom that up even more, it's just a really blurry shot. You really can't tell what's going on, but even here in this blurry shot, it does look just like I said, that a body is laying across here, and it's closer to the camera than Glenn's face down here. And you can see right here the big hole that is the intestines and the hands all digging in there. This is definitely above and closer to the camera than Glenn's body would be. Now, what is Glenn going to do from here? Because, in all honesty, with all these zombies right there, they're going to be right on top of Glenn in a matter of no time. They're going to be tearing at his neck, his face, and everything like that. Where's he going to roll? Well, the dumpster's right here. So all he has to do is hopefully scoot up under the dumpster, and maybe these zombies will go after eating Nicholas and eating all his remains and fighting over his remains, and maybe they won't even kind of notice him. He'd be lucky if they didn't notice him get under this dumpster, but maybe he can squeeze up under there. He's a thin guy, and that's my best guess when we actually see him next. Now, evidently next week, from what I'm understanding, next week's episode number 4, is going to be all about Morgan. It's going to go back and show his, past until he actually got back and went to Alexandria. It's going to show everything he did and kind of show his past, like they've done with other, stars. Like I think they did one for, Daryl, and they did one for Beth. I think they did one for Carol, I know, and they kind of showed the life up to where they're at now. And I think they're going to do that for Morgan next week, which will be really cool to see. But I really would like to see what's going to happen to Glenn first. But I think they're going to make us hold on for a couple weeks to find out what's happening. And at the end of episode number 3, I think we saw Michonne with the 2 wounded people that she had from Alexandria with her. She was walking back up towards this area. So even this is a lot of zombies from Michonne to take out, but I think she's going to be able to somehow save Glenn. She's going to see all the zombies around there. She's going to yell out to him or whatever, and then Glenn's going to say Michonne or whatever, and we're going to see some heroic save by Michonne. We already know she's a badass. Even though there's a lot of zombies, they'll figure something out. And Glenn is going to live, people. So for all you people just like me tonight that were an emotional wreck thinking Glenn's dead, you can go ahead and yay! Go ahead and clap your hands and be happy, because I firmly believe now that they got us on this one. They fooled us. This should be April Fool's Day, because they got us good, or most of us anyway. I think there's probably a few people out there that noticed this when they watched it air live. But me, I was an emotional wreck. I believed Glenn was dead until I actually rewatched it and started looking at things, and I'm like, and then I'm showing you guys exactly what I started seeing, and it looks pretty plain that Glenn's still alive, at least right now at the end of episode 3. And I'm sure that he'll live, and everybody's going to feel silly. And I'm sure the producers for The Walking Dead are having a good laugh at how well they fooled all the viewers, the millions and millions of viewers. So we've been fooled. And they got us good on this one. So anyway, I want to go ahead and thank you guys for watching. Let me know in the comments below if you guys agree that Glenn is probably alive. Let me know as well if this makes you happy to think that he's still alive. And, I'm very happy because I was actually pretty emotionally wrecked after watching that show until I actually rewatched the video and started saying, aha. And, yeah. So those of you out there that watched this and caught this when it aired live, you guys are pretty damn observant. I give you that. I had to go back and rewatch it after I heard the rumors, and I was like, wait a minute, let me look at that again. Are you sure? And sure enough, it does look like that has got to be Nicholas, and Glenn's probably still alive. So again, I want to go ahead and thank you guys for watching. This has been Zaxter99. We'll talk to you in the next video. Be sure to leave those comments down below. Be sure you rate my video, and take care, everybody. Don't let the zombies get you. We'll see you in the next one.